Remember several years ago, everybody was in a haversack craze. Like everybody was talking about like what's in my haversack, and they just demonstrate what they carried with them. But most people out there don't realize that the haversack was essentially just the kitchen for them. And this goes back to bread bags, etc., way before like the American Civil War, way before the American Revolution, which is what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. And you know, it was a military necessity because you carried very few things on your back, but you still had to have your rations and the things that you used to cook them. Now, over time, especially by the time the American Civil War came around, the haversack was condensed much smaller, and they actually had to carry more. In the Union Army, they were equipped, and they were also just given better supplies. They had more money to spend versus the Confederate forces. Well, that kind of flipped the script during the American Revolution, whereas George Washington, he essentially had a starving army the entire time of the war until I guess the French came in. Now, when the French and the Spanish came in and other countries started contributing a little bit, it alleviated some of the problems. But even then, getting supplies to the men was always a struggle. Okay, so that's why I say that General Washington pretty much had a starving army. Okay, were they really starving just like they were at Valley Forge? No, not all the time. Sometimes it was feast and famine, especially during the harvest season, during the summer months or something like that. It could be a little bit better versus the winter because everybody is struggling in the winter, right? It's not like you can just go out and forage for berries or other edibles to supplement your diet. So I'm going to talk to you guys about what is in my haversack. I did my very first living history event in my Continental gear get-up, okay? And I had to take a step back and think about what I carried in here besides just my food. So, because the pack that I had, you can't put anything in it really, except for a shirt, pair of socks, a blanket, and that's pretty much it. That's all the space that the pack has. So let's start with your cup. Okay, you got to have a cup. Now, could be pewter, could be wooden, could be horn, could be tin. Now, it just varies depending on the soldier to the soldier. The nice thing about tin is you can use this as a cooking vessel. And George Washington especially wanted soldiers to boil their foods to get all the nutrients. Those of you who watch Alone and other survival series, you already know that soups gives you more nutrients than just frying it out, even though frying, generally speaking, tastes better. So you got your cup for your soup. Next, a frying pan, possibly. Not every soldier would really need a frying pan, right? Because you guys could share it. But sometimes having a frying pan just makes more sense. You could make your Johnny cake, you could make your biscuits or your other forms of basic breads on a rock if you really needed to. But having a frying pan certainly makes things a little bit easier. So I got my frying pan. Over here, this is my rice bag. Now, rice was very popular, especially in the southern theater of the war. You're supposed to get cornmeal, flour, fresh bread, or rice. You know, something to kind of give you all those carbohydrates to survive off of. So here's my bag of rice. And I got my cover here because a skillet gets really sooty. Then, speaking of food, jerky. Now, soldiers were also supposed to get a meat ration. Now, meat rations were generally speaking given either fresh or salted. More often than not, it's probably salted, just like the American Civil War. So you would boil the heck out of it before you fry it, or you boil it into soup or something like that. But jerky is also another viable option. So this is the jerky that I took. Soldiers often had the chance to go hunting and foraging around the area to get what they possibly could. Now this is my bag that had a couple eggs in it. Now eggs would have been a delicacy, and I carried my eggs as a hard-boiled egg. So soldiers who might have got some eggs from a nice farmer lady either purchased it or gifted it or reconnoitered and picked them up. You definitely want to be able to carry them for long distances over periods of time. So hard boiling just makes sense. So I ate my eggs. Over here, this is my combined poke sack And you notice things are pretty well organized, right? They're kind of in groups. So in my combined poke sack here, I have my towel. Inside my towel, these are my personals. I also had a pencil on there that came out. So you had my straight razor. Now, men in the 18th century pretty much shaved. Now, why? Because me, as a 21st century man and a 20th century man, I don't like shaving. Shaving is not my preferred way of wearing my facial hair or taking care of my face. I prefer a nice full beard. So shaving did a couple of things. First of all, you do have hygiene. You got these men in camps, you got lice, you got fleas and nits and other things, right? So you got the hygiene aspect of it, but also it was just considered the popular thing to do because they're trying to emulate what the wealthy and royalty did. You know, if you were unshaven, then you're kind of on the fringes of society in one way or another. I've got my shaving soap. I've got my mirror. Now, mirrors would have been a delicacy. You notice it's kind of small. I say delicacy, but what I really mean is that it would have been something that only the really well-to-do people probably would have had. And again, this would have been something that soldiers would have shared with them, with each other, instead of just everybody carrying it. And you got the comb. Now the comb is made out of horn. And again, that's to take care of the fleas and the nits and the lice and things. You got your shaving brush and a regular brush. So this would have been my hygiene kit to take care of all my basic needs around camp. And how I take care of that, to try to keep them somewhat ordered and together, I fold them over like so, take a flap, and then I roll it all up so I can put it in my bag. So I can grab this. It's not going to make a bunch of noise. So if I am marching, it's not something rattling. And it fits in my bigger bag here. Now inside my bigger bag here is a tin container, and this is my sewing kit, my housewife, if you will. So I have my thimble, I've got my deer skin with a bunch of needles and various threads. Even my threads are kept on a bone thread keeper. You can see here, I carry a piece of beeswax for the threads. And a couple extra buttons. So there you go, that's all I need for my repair kit for my clothing. All goes in another poke sack. Next, my flints. Now, you can get about 24 shots if you're lucky on a single flint before you have to either nap them or you switch them out into your musket. Now we're talking about a flintlock type musket. So this is my flint wallet, and my flint wallet has 6 different flints, and it also has a spare leather. So if I need to swap out my leather in the middle of a battle or an engagement, I can go ahead and do that. You got to take care of your gun. So you got to have all your tools on you in one way or another. Now here is my silverware, my utensils. So to that end, I got myself my wooden spoon. I've got myself a small knife like so. And I've got my three-pronged fork, which I like to keep in a leather, you know, just so it doesn't poke through my canvas bags, etc. Now I'm still working on my fire tending kit because I got to do better than this. So you'd want to make sure your tender is dry. Just for the public's sake, I went ahead and wrapped it up in a deer skin hock that I brain tanned. So it keeps it somewhat dry, but the ends are certainly exposed. So I got to do better. I got to make a leather bag or oilcloth or something like that to keep my tender along with my flint and my steel. If you're going to have to make fire in the 18th century, you pretty much got to rely on flint and steel. You really didn't have lucifers, especially matches in our modern sense. There were similar items in the 18th century, but not the same. So you got your flint and steel kit. This is another one of those gun tools, so you can clear out the hole in your breech, and you've got a couple turn screws here of different widths and of different, I don't know, thicknesses of the heads of this turn screw to take care of your musket. Now, tobacco use was prolific in the 18th century. Now, of course, you got your clay pipes. Now, clay pipes tend to break, so I, being the handy guy I am, I actually made my own. Got a little reed stem, and I think I made this out of apple, if I remember right, from my orchard. And I got my little pipe bag here, and it all kind of combines together, locks in place like so to stay together. And I've got jaw harp, having some type of instrument, just to keep yourself engaged, keep morale up and everything. I think that's pretty important. So I got my jaw harp as well. Lastly, I think, yep, I've got my plate and I've got some cloth here. Now the cloth here, it could be used as a bandage. It could be used for your musket, to clean your musket. You could use the cloth for patches. You could cut those before you put your ball down in. You could do a spit patch or a grease patch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So having a little bit of extra cloth, maybe even make a repair on your shirt or something, is pretty handy. And of course, I prefer to have a dish like this, so if you got soup, you know, it's not going to go everywhere versus having a shallower plate. That is my haversack for my 18th century impression. Now, those of you who may have some advice, go ahead and give them to me. I'd love to hear your guys' comments and what did I miss? What would you possibly carry that I should have in my haversack? Now, keep in mind, I do have my shooting bags as well, and I do have my knapsack. So I may have something that you're mentioning in one of those areas, but please put it below nonetheless, because it will help me and it helps others, especially people who may not be into this type of living history or this type of experience. It would help them out. So I appreciate you stopping by. If you liked it, please click like. It'll help other people find it. It helps our channel. We really appreciate it. If you would be interested in helping out in another way, we've got the museum that we are starting. It's called the National Center of Outdoor Heritage, the NCOH. And it's going to be the Smithsonian of outdoor recreation. And we need all the help that we can get. Now, there's simple ways to help and there's complex ways to help. If you've got experience or if you've got knowledge or if you know somebody, if you are an outdoor brand or something like that, then you can obviously help in various different ways. But everybody can help one way or the other. And you can start helping us out by going to www.honorableoutfitters.com and checking it out. Because there you can see the prospectus, you can go through and see all the different tiers and what you could possibly get for contributing to a certain tier. We need all the help that we can get. And lastly, the press and mess kit. If you have not secured your press and mess kit yet, it's going to cost $200. It's made out of 316L stainless steel. It is the best one-man mess kit ever invented, in my opinion. Okay, you get a 54-ounce stainless steel canteen, you get a skillet, you get a plate, and you get a cup, and they all nest together perfectly compact. And my favorite part, this is what's so genius about it. You can take the plate, you can take the skillet, you can hook them together, and they lock together, so you can create a baking vessel, you can create a container to take your stuff, you know, stuff like that. So again, you can secure yours for $200. In the description box below, there's a link. There's a history about it, there's various videos, etc. Please check it out. Now, if you'd like to check out the video about a press and mess kit, you can check this one out here. If you want to see more videos about all the cool camp crafting stuff and get some ideas, then check it out here. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Give a kiss to your loved ones. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.